A vital part of keeping your body healthy and making sure that you age well is keeping that power pack in your head healthy and strong as you age, really keeping your brain functioning properly as you get older. Well, the exciting news is that there's a lot that science has uncovered about how we can help our brain age in a healthier way. And that's the sort of thing that we're going to be chatting about in this particular episode of the Healthy Savvy Life Show. So welcome along to the show. I'm your host, Corey Sievers, and here on the Healthy Savvy Life Show, we share hints and tips to help you reach the next level of health and wellness. And, in the Savvy team here, we believe that wellness can be as easy as 1, 2, 3 for you. If you do a few simple things over a consistent period of time, you can reach that next level of wellness that you're striving for. Your brain actually produces new brain cells throughout your lifespan. And this is only fairly new news, really, in terms of, the medical science. Many older doctors really still may believe that, they were taught, in essence, that at 18, that was it. That's all the brain cells that you had, and it was downhill from there. But fortunately, around about 1998, I believe it was, they uncovered really that we have the ability to build new brain cells, and your brain produces new brain cells throughout your life, and its capacity to grow and strengthen is incredible. But that capacity is all determined by the degree to which you look after it, and it depends on a few things that you actually do. So more things that you do to support the regeneration of your brain cells and the health of your body and your brain, the more protected you're going to be against a whole host of different things, including, neurodegeneration and depression, anxiety, physical pain, Alzheimer's, these sorts of things. And plus, in the now, the stronger your overall cognitive function will be. And, that's your memory, your learning, your ability to process tasks, those sorts of things. So science has given us a real hand with this, finding nutrients, practices, foods, etc., that can really help keep your brain happy and performing well. And that's what we're going to discuss here on this episode of Healthy Savvy Life: nutrients to supercharge your brain, focus, and mood. So if that sounds like a good idea to you, then listen on in, because we're going to delve into some information looking at specific nutrients, also give you some hints and tips on the foods that can be not so good for your brain and the foods that are far better. So we like to say that if you can show us what you want, tell us what you want, we can show you how to get it, but you've got to know what you want. And many people just go through life, just hoping that things will turn out all right. And hope isn't a strategy. And much of our medical model really waits for something to go wrong before we do something about it. And so that's what we mean that wellness, wellness is as easy as 1, 2, 3. Disease can be difficult. Understanding all of the disease parameters and the things that can go wrong, that can be difficult. But wellness is really as easy as 1, 2, 3. So we're talking about brain health here, and we're talking about some of the things that you can do to supercharge your brain. And it's really important for you to be nice to your brain. Your brain is arguably the most important organ that you have. And so do you even spare a thought for the poor old brain, whether it be foggy thinking, mental illness, fear of Alzheimer's, seizure disorders, Parkinson's, all of these sorts of things, stroke. When you hear all of these issues, you actually realize that your brain is pretty important. And so we're going to really look at what you can do to look after your brain no matter what your age. If you can really understand that your brain controls and coordinates actions and reactions, allows you to think and feel, enables you to have memories and feelings, all of the things that really make you, then you can really appreciate what you have there and not take it for granted, and actually follow the research to look after your brain so that you actually experience healthy brain aging. That's the important thing here, because when we look at neurodegenerative diseases, then straight from the Alzheimer's Association, it said this, that 20 years before symptoms appear, the brain changes of Alzheimer's begin. we're not here talking about Alzheimer's. We're here just talking about healthy brain aging and nutrients that can supercharge your brain in the now, help you with focus and mood and memory, these sorts of things, and support healthy brain aging. But, isn't it good that we can do some things now that help us in the short term, but also have that long-term benefit? And they're the sorts of things that we really want to cover here, and the things that we love to talk about here on the show, holistic wellness principles. The neurodegenerative disorders, dementia, those sorts of things are the leading cause of death in women. Now, most people, in Australia anyway, so most people don't really think about the fact that dementia is actually a cause of death, but it's because of the way that it affects the brain. So anything that you can do to spark up your brain now to help you learn better, improve your mood, improve your focus, and support that healthy brain aging, then the better off you're going to be, not only in the short term with your job and your business or whatever else and getting things done, but also in the long term as well. So looking at some of the experts in the health of the brain, we recently did, or not so long ago, did a whole session that was around Alzheimer's. And we also have here in the Savvy team a healthy brain action plan for those who really want to spark up their brain. And so, it's looking at all of that led to talking about these particular nutrients. But with Alzheimer's in mind, the thing that we call Alzheimer's disease is actually the response to 3 core insults on the body, according to Dr. Dale Bredesen, author of The End of Alzheimer's. Chronic inflammation, lack of trophic support, so nutritional support, supportive things in the body to look after the health of the brain and body, and toxin exposure. And so when you start to look at our easy as 1, 2, 3 philosophy, I wanted to delve into that little bit of information from Dr. Dale Bredesen, because it will make a lot of sense to you when we go through the nutrients, because you'll start to hear that many of these nutrients are really helpful from a nutritional point of view, from a reduction of inflammation, etc. And then some of the other tips are around eliminating toxin exposure. And so that really makes a huge difference in the way your brain ages and the way your brain functions in the now. So if you want to delve into that particular topic in a lot more depth, then check out our previous session that was called The End of Alzheimer's. Because Dr. Dale Bredesen said that there's a lot that you can do about Alzheimer's. The reality is that Alzheimer's should be a rare condition. And the reason that it's not a rare condition is that most of the focus is about attacking the symptoms of the degeneration, not correcting the underlying causes. What we're big about here in the Savvy team is really to focus on, through awareness, education, growth, and doing the right things, reaching that high level of wellness. And that includes supercharging your brain and looking after it as you age. So we're going to jump on now into some of the nutrients that can really, really help to supercharge your brain, your focus, and your mood. And so I'll share some of these with you and discuss this. If you have any questions, of course, do feel free to ask. So the first one is L-theanine. Have you ever thought about why having a nice cup of tea is both invigorating and relaxing? Well, it's because of the combination of 2 ingredients, L-theanine and caffeine. And that's what we're going to chat about right now. So L-theanine is an amino acid that's commonly found in tea leaves, both in green and in black tea, as well as extracts like green tea extracts and those sorts of things. And it's also available as a supplement, so L-theanine. Research indicates that L-theanine promotes relaxation without the drowsiness. And that's really what I was meaning by a nice cup of tea there. So many people find that L-theanine helps to ease stress, helps them to unwind, and yet without feeling the sluggy drowsiness that might come from other herbs that are relaxing or even medication. So L-theanine is very good for anxiety and stress relief. 5 randomized controlled trials with a total of 104 people found that L-theanine reduced their stress and anxiety without any other negative symptoms, and in those who were experiencing particularly stressful situations. Another study found that it increased relaxation without causing drowsiness and a reduced resting heart rate as well. Another benefit from L-theanine is increased focus. So when L-theanine is paired with caffeine, L-theanine can help to increase focus and attention. So, when we start to combine these things, relaxation without drowsiness, but increased focus and attention, we see the benefit. And a 2013 study found that moderate levels of L-theanine and caffeine helped young adults to focus better during demanding tasks and study. The participants felt more alert and less tired as a general across the board. According to another study, these effects can be felt in as little as 30 minutes. So more alertness, less tiredness, and being able to perform demanding tasks. Isn't that what we all really want out of our day? They also found that L-theanine can control blood pressure to a certain degree. It's really beneficial for those who see increased blood pressure in stressful situations. A 2012 study observed that those who normally experience higher blood pressure after certain, mentally demanding tasks, the L-theanine helped control their blood pressure and stop the increase in these groups. The researchers noted that caffeine had a similar but less beneficial effect. So the other benefits of L-theanine include things such as improved sleep quality, better immunity, those sorts of things. And it is often seen to be particularly suited when paired with caffeine. And so that leads us to L-theanine's friend, caffeine and coffee. Now, coffee is one of the world's most popular drinks, and there's a lot of reasons for that. And some of the benefits are thanks to its high antioxidant levels and beneficial nutrients. So studies have actually shown that coffee drinkers have a much lower risk of several serious diseases. Now, caffeine from natural sources like coffee and green tea is better, in our opinion, than pharmaceutical, just the drug, the concentrated pharmaceutical source of caffeine. So we're really dealing with caffeine from natural extracts and along with the other beneficial components. So, caffeine extracted from green tea, caffeine from coffee, for example. Now, it can help your energy levels, make you smarter. Coffee can help you feel less tired and increase your energy levels, as you probably know. But and that's of course due to the caffeine. But in the brain, caffeine blocks an inhibitory neurotransmitter called adenosine. And when this happens, the amount of the neurotransmitters like norepinephrine, dopamine, these increase in leading to the enhanced firing of neurons in your brain. So there have been controlled studies in humans that show that coffee improved various aspects of brain function, including memory, mood, your vigilance and ability to focus, reaction times, energy levels, and general mental function. So it's a good all-round thing to actually consume. Coffee and caffeine can help you fight depression and make you happier, according to studies. A Harvard study published in 2011 looked at women who drank coffee, and they found that those women who drank 4 or more cups of coffee had a 20% lower risk across the board of experiencing depression. Another study in over 200,000 people found that those who drank 4 or more cups of coffee per day were 53% less likely to die from suicide. I don't know how they do these studies, but it's very interesting. So, but did you know, you might know that caffeine and coffee sparks you up, helps your mental focus, gives you more energy. That, may be a no-brainer to you. But did you know that coffee is the biggest source of antioxidants in the typical Western diet? It's sad, but it's true. For most people who eat the standard Western diet, coffee may be the healthiest aspect of their diet, amongst the healthiest aspects of their diet anyway. And that's because coffee is quite high in antioxidants, and studies show that many people get more antioxidants from coffee than the small amount of fruits and vegetables that they eat. So I'd say yikes to that. It's time to follow the Eat Savvy approach, plus get some healthy coffee as well. And make sure the coffee that you're choosing is a healthy variety. Coffee can lower stroke risk. It's often claimed that caffeine increases blood pressure, and this is true, but the rise is only by maybe 3 or 4 millimeters of mercury. And so the effect is small and usually dissipates when the caffeine runs out of your system, and also if you drink coffee regularly. So that being said, that studies don't support that coffee raises any risk to your heart disease risk. On the contrary, the evidence actually shows that those who drink coffee have a reduced risk, especially in women, and some studies show that coffee drinkers have a 20% lower risk of stroke. You may not realize that coffee may actually protect your liver. Even though too much of it is a liver toxin, it may protect your liver. Your liver is an amazing organ that carries out a whole bunch of functions each and every day. Well, interestingly, looking at the research, researchers suggest that coffee may actually protect against cirrhosis of the liver. People who drink 4 or more cups per day had an 80% lower risk of cirrhosis, looking at the stats. Coffee and caffeine can also help you burn fats, can dramatically improve your physical performance in the gym or whatever else you're doing as far as energy levels go, may lower your risk of type 2 diabetes, may protect you from Alzheimer's disease and dementia, as I mentioned, may lower your risk of Parkinson's disease, may lower the risk of certain types of cancer, and contains a whole bunch of actually essential nutrients. So a single cup of coffee ends up giving you 11% of the daily recommended dietary intake of things such as riboflavin, that's B2, about 6% of your B5, 3% of your magnesium and potassium, although the diuretic nature of caffeine can leach minerals from your system if you don't also supplement with minerals, but also it supplies you with magnesium and niacin, so vitamin B3. So, it might not seem like a big deal. These are only small amounts, but again, there's more antioxidants and nutrients sometimes in the cup of coffee that people have than in the diet that they're eating, because we're on, many people are on such, you might be on such a processed food diet, and many processed foods have to be fortified with vitamins and minerals just to make them not damaging, to the body. So, good to get the nutrients up, and coffee seems to provide some benefits. Coffee and caffeine may even help you live longer. Given that coffee drinkers are less likely to get many, many diseases, it does make sense that coffee can help you live longer. In fact, several observational studies indicate that coffee drinkers seem to have a lower risk of death from all causes, so all-cause mortality. That's right. So across the board, if you're a coffee drinker, you're just less likely to die, it seems. So in 2 very large studies, drinking coffee was associated with a 20% reduced risk of death in men and a 26% decreased risk of death in women over a period of 18 to 24 years. And it was particularly strong with those who also suffered from type 2 diabetes. And type 2 diabetes, diabesity really, obesity and type 2 diabetes is rampant in our world today because people eat far too many carbohydrates and sugars. So, what in turn turns out to be the problem is not the coffee that you might drink, but what you put in the coffee, like sugar or sweeteners or different types of inflammatory milks. So careful with your coffee. Leads us to the next nutrient to supercharge your brain, focus, and mood, and that is Bacopa or Brahmi, Bacopa moniaria or Brahmi. Now, this is a well-known Ayurvedic herb, so been used in Ayurvedic medicine for centuries, really, for a variety of purposes. Being an adaptogenic herb, it's helpful in this particular instance for improving memory, reducing anxiety, and even treating things such as epilepsy and other seizure disorders. Research seems to show that it really does boost brain function, alleviate anxiety and stress, amongst other benefits. So it contains a class of powerful compounds that are called bacosides, hence the name Bacopa. Bacosides come from Bacopa, obviously, and these are responsible, researchers believe, for all of these brain boosting and anxiety relieving benefits. So what could Bacopa or Brahmi do for you? It could boost your brain function. Research suggests that it definitely can help to enhance all-round brain function. One study showed that it increased the dendritic length and branching, and the dendrites are parts of nerve cells that are closely linked to learning and memory. A 12-week study in 46 healthy people observed that taking Bacopa daily improved the speed of processing visual information, improved their learning rate, their memory, compared with placebo. Another study in older adults found that taking the Bacopa monnieri extract daily improved their memory, their attention, their ability to process information compared with the placebo. So it may be able to improve your brain function, may prevent anxiety and stress. Again, here's another nutrient that can really help with your mood and stress levels. So again, because it's considered an adaptogenic herb, it increases your body's resistance to stressful situations. And research shows that it helps to reduce stress and anxiety as well as elevating your mood. They believe by reducing cortisol levels, and that's the hormone that's closely linked to your stress levels. So in a 12-week human trial or study, they actually looked at Bacopa. They saw significant reduction in anxiety and depression scores in adults compared to placebo. So you may have heard of these sorts of benefits for Brahmi or Bacopa, being for brain function and improving, cognitive processing speed, these sorts of things. But you may not realize that it also is rich in powerful antioxidants, that it may reduce inflammation, and particularly in the brain. It may help to lower blood pressure levels, and it may even have anti-cancer properties. So it's often in supplements. You may see it in supplements for memory and focus, but it can also be taken as a powdered herb, and that can be found in many supplements as well. And interestingly, the traditional Ayurvedic way of taking Bacopa is with ghee, clarified butter, and that helps with absorption, similarly to turmeric or curcumin. And curcumin can help with brain function and slow neurodegenerative diseases as well. So you've got another nutrient there that works well when taken with a fat, and in particular, traditionally in the Ayurvedic principles, it would be taken with ghee. You may have seen that the keto coffee craze, bulletproof coffee, where you're using butter and MCT oil, those sorts of things. We've certainly been using that sort of process here in the Savvy team for some time. Way back in 2005, we were talking about the importance of getting rid of milks and these inflammatory milks and things that can trigger blood sugar and insulin from your coffee, and trying to get really good quality coffee and maybe just put a little bit of cream or something that's a high fat in there. And certainly mixing grass-fed butter and MCT oil like keto coffee or bulletproof coffee does, along with Brahmi. What a great way to spark up the brain, because that's almost its natural, original Ayurvedic way of ingesting it. So Bacopa is, really good for all sorts of things. They're a very well-known nootropic supplement. So keep that in mind for sparking up and supercharging your brain. Now, this is one that you may not have heard about, and it's a fairly recently researched ingredient. And if you understand that when you're making coffee, it's getting rid of the fruit. The process of making is getting rid of the fruit and really just drying the internal, the seed part, and roasting it, all that sort of thing. So the fruit is somewhat of a waste product. Well, science has really looked into what is going on in the fruit. Can that actually be used for something? Which is great. It's a waste product. Let's see what we can use it for. Well, it turns out that coffee fruit extract is the superfood that your brain has been asking for to slow neurodegeneration, to potentially prevent Alzheimer's, and to help you spark up your brain in the now too. So it's pretty common knowledge that nowadays in most circles of medicine and certainly in neurodegeneration, that we now can constantly replenish our brain cells. And we're talking here about coffee fruit extract. So it is well known that we can actually support this slowing of neurodegeneration and actually building brain cells. But it's important to keep in mind that the first scientific publication that demonstrated our capacity to grow new brain cells was only published in 1998. So many of the older doctors who went through medical school, it was pretty much accepted dogma that humans lacked the ability to grow new brain cells. And so they were told that you get a given number of brain cells, and after 18, it's all a downhill slide from there. And so that's simply not true. Evidence has obviously shown that this neurogenesis, or the ability to grow new brain cells, is a thing. It's happening in your brain right now, and this process will continue for the rest of your life. But the revelation has been that we can actually enhance the process by making smart lifestyle and supplement choices. So the discovery of the fact that we can build brain cells is one thing, but the more exciting discovery is that we are more in control than they ever believed. And this is through being able to support something known as brain-derived neurotrophic factor. So, without question, on the top of the list in terms of enhancing the growth of new brain cells is aerobic exercise. So that's what the research shows. This is one of the reasons why you should exercise. Now, it's interesting that we run wellness programs, weight loss programs here, and we see many wellness programs say you can lose weight without exercise and all that sort of thing. Well, that's true. You can. People do that routinely on our programs, but it's not something that I would heavily promote because, it might get people in who don't really have a focus on improving your all-round wellness. So if you just want to lose weight and you're disinterested in living a healthy life, then that's a real shame, because exercise is the number one thing to improve BDNF and to slow, brain aging, or to, encourage healthy brain aging might be the best way to put it. But, second to that would be really supplementing with DHA. So the omega-3 oil, DHA, docosahexaenoic acid. And so this is found richly in the krill oils and also in fish oils as well. But it's the bioavailability of the docosahexaenoic acid and the eicosapentaenoic acid, the DHA and EPA in krill oil, that makes it a very exciting, potential for slowing brain aging. So, and again, that's why that nutrient is, omega-3 at least, has always been part of our wellness programs. It's just so important for the brain. It's definitely been part of our Savvy 90 plan for decades. Interestingly, it's also been, our community members have had curcumin in there and grapeseed extract, the anthocyanidins, as well as things such as omega-3 in their daily regimens for more than 20 years. And so now, fortunately, all this research has shown that they were doing the right thing to look after their brains all of these years. So new research from Boston University that was published in the Journal of the American Medical Association demonstrated that BDNF has powerful protective effect on the brain. So in their research, they looked at 140 people from 140 of the participants in the Framingham study over a 10-year period. 117 of the participants developed Alzheimer's disease. When they compared those individuals with the lowest versus the highest levels of BDNF, they discovered that those with the highest BDNF, brain-derived neurotrophic factor, had a 50% reduction in Alzheimer's risk. And so here's what they concluded straight from the report. We suggest that serum BDNF may play a role in the development of Alzheimer's disease, especially in older women, the group at highest risk for AD. There is a particular interest because serum BDNF levels can be elevated through simple lifestyle measures, such as increased physical activity. Brain-derived neurotropic factor may also serve as a novel predictor of dementia and Alzheimer's disease in healthy adults and as a biomarker of dementia risk and prognosis. So here they are basically saying that the more you can keep your BDNF levels up, the better your brain is going to age over the long term. So you're going, okay, great. Well, the interesting thing is that we have seen in recent research that coffee fruit extract has demonstrated that it can improve BDNF levels. So that's the whole thing, a really unique use for this coffee fruit. There was a study that involved 20 adults who consumed a supplement with whole coffee fruit powder, they saw elevations in their BDNF levels. So, whereas they didn't see it with placebo. Remarkably, BDNF levels actually doubled in those taking the whole fruit concentrate compared to those. They were double compared to normal coffee or placebo. So it was the coffee fruit extract, not the coffee, that made the difference from this perspective. So another study in the British Journal of Nutrition, they administered a single dose of whole coffee fruit extract to a group of volunteers and saw a 143% increase in the blood levels of BDNF. So in just that short amount of time. So coffee fruit extract contains as well these additional beneficial nutrients that are antioxidants really, called the procyanidins, and these are known to protect the brain cells. So it also contains a unique profile of polyphenols that are really good for the whole body, helping you to lose weight, helping you with your brain aging, as well as this ability to raise BDNF levels so dramatically. So really, when you look at it, coffee fruit extract helps, is great for your brain and helps your brain in several different ways. It coaxes your neurons to form new connections faster, and also to protect them from aging. So it's helping make the new connections faster now and slowing aging. That's what I mean by it's good for your brain in the now and helping you with learning and all that sort of thing, but also good in the long term. So faster learning, improved memory, slower brain aging, improved mood. If you were feeling blue and foggy before, especially as a result of stress, boosting BDNF levels with coffee fruit extract could really, really help. The coffee fruit extract also appears to make your brain and you more resilient to stress and anxiety as well. So it does more than just, coffee fruit extract does more than just increase BDNF. It's a potent source of chlorogenic acid, which is often burnt up in the coffee making process. And so this is an antioxidant that further protects your brain from the impact of stress. So when chlorogenic acid reaches your brain, it activates the GABA receptors. And these are the same receptors that anti-anxiety drugs actually target. So these are things like Xanax and Valium and that sort of thing. So this is activating the chlorogenic acid, activates the same receptors. And obviously coffee fruit extract is natural and does this in a much gentler way to ease anxiety and doesn't carry the addictive potential of those sorts of medications and benzodiazepines in general. So if you're feeling overwhelmed and anxious, maybe coffee fruit extract could be just the ticket for a calmer head on your shoulders and being able to actually handle stressful situations with ease. Now, also, the chlorogenic acid from coffee fruit extract is a strong anti-inflammatory. And there's another one. Remember, inflammation is one of the things that are the triggers for neurodegeneration. So chlorogenic acid protects your cells from oxidative damage and cellular stress. And so it's neuroprotective. Chlorogenic acid prevents drug-induced memory loss as well, helps the cells in your brain to survive free radical damage, and is good for the rest of your body as well. So there are all those main extracts we wanted to talk about, but I mentioned before MCT. It's worthwhile talking about medium-chain triglycerides as well, because you can use them in your coffee or just take them as on a spoonful of MCT oil to give you a bit of an energy boost. Watching, of course, how much oils you're consuming if you're looking to lose weight, etc. But MCT can enter your cells without being broken down, and so it can be used as an immediate energy source for your body and even for your brain. So really, really helpful there too. And I mentioned before about tea, green tea extracts. So any of the green tea extracts too, if the caffeine's derived from green tea, for example, there are a whole host of other benefits that come along with green tea. So several studies have shown that the catechin compounds in green tea have various protective impacts on the neurons in your brain and have the possibility of lowering the risk of dementia. And they're fat burning too. So there you have it. There's a whole bunch of nutrients to really supercharge your brain. So I'd like to share with you now, as we wrap up, some of the foods that are bad for your brain and some of the foods that are good for your brain. They're those nutrients that are really power-packed for your brain. But what are some of the foods that can have an impact too? Well, let's look at the worst foods for your brain first of all. So the first one is sugary drinks and generally lots of sugar. So sports drinks, energy drinks, fruit juices, anything that's really a high glycemic load. Not only bad for your waistline, but bad for type 2 diabetes as well, and has a negative effect on the brain. So it definitely, the high intake of sugar and sugary drinks increases the risk of dementia. In particular, here in Australia, it's not so bad, but those sorts of drinks and foods that contain high fructose corn syrup, which can be disguised in many different ways as far as the naming goes, these are especially harmful because it can cause brain inflammation and impair memory and learning as well. So number 2 is refined carbohydrates, eating a lot of refined carbohydrates. So the sugars, of course, but highly processed grains such as white flour. These carbs typically are high glycemic, and so spike your blood sugar very quickly and spike your insulin levels very quickly, but they're often high glycemic load as well. So there's just a lot of carbs. Not only is it a quick carb rush, which is the glycemic index, but it's a big load as well. We tend to have too many carbohydrates in our diet. So foods that are high GI and high GL, high glycemic load, have been found to impair brain function in studies. And so inflammation is recognized as the general risk factor for many different things. And we talked about neurodegeneration, but also to other degenerative diseases as well. And refined carbs and grains also have been shown to lead to excess inflammation in the body from various different mechanisms. So all those grains and flours and all that sort of thing, sugars, processed foods, not so good for your brain health. Number 3 are foods that are high in trans fats. So yes, these are the fried foods, but they're also the packaged foods as well. So these can be detrimental for brain health. Now, while trans fats occur naturally in animal products like meat and dairy, those natural sources are actually not a major concern. It's the industrially produced hydrogenated fats that are the problem. Okay, so these artificial trans fats are, margarine, vegetable oils, snack food, frostings, ready-made cakes, pre-packaged foods, cookies, all of these sorts of things. If it has vegetable oil on it or margarine, it's a hydrogenated oil, and that's likely to carry with the trans fats. So you want to avoid those. They're bad for your brain. They're bad for a number of things. Bad for your waistline, bad for inflammation in the body, arthritis, those sorts of things. But we're talking about looking after your brain and your focus, your mood, those sorts of things. So number 4, that leads us to, of course, highly processed foods. So highly processed foods tend to be high in sugar, in these hydrogenated fats, in, inflammatory flours and like things like wheat, etc., and also toxic salt, not healthy salt, but just sodium chloride. And so chips, sweets, instant noodles, microwave popcorn, store-bought sauces too, ready-made meals, all of these sorts of things. They're usually high in calories, low in nutrition. They're not the kinds of foods that are good for your brain or good for your health in general. So this is the thing. You can avoid a lot of these things that are bad for your brain and bad for your health in general by eating mostly whole foods and going away from packaged foods. So, fruits, vegetables, nuts, seeds, meats, fish. Mediterranean style eating is certainly positive, but again, you've got to be careful of all the nightshade vegetables that can be found in Mediterranean cuisine: eggplants, tomatoes, potatoes, chili peppers, capsicum, those sorts of things. They can trigger a lot of inflammation in the body, especially for those who are susceptible. That can lead to migraines, headaches, and inflammation in the brain. So you don't really want those things. So follow the Eat Savvy approach. It's a culmination of a whole bunch of research-backed studies in terms of so many dietary philosophies. And this is the thing. It's like, how do we, many of our community members over the years, over the decades, really sort of said, well, I heard this diet's good, but that has these problems. I heard this diet's good, but it's got these problems. So in the Eat Savvy approach, we really endeavored to package so many different philosophies onto an eating spectrum that made it easy for you to choose the most savvy foods, the foods that are most likely to lead you to that higher level of wellness and to healthy brain aging, and eliminating those things that are most likely to trip you up. So download the free Eat Savvy approach and look at the 12 action steps that we have on the blog too. So we were just talking about highly processed foods. That leads us to a chemical that's in a lot of foods, and that's aspartame as an artificial sweetener. Now, many people use this when trying to lose weight or avoid sugar spikes if they have diabetes, etc. It's found in a lot of commercial products that are sugar-free and targeted at people with diabetes. But the phenylalanine in there can cross the blood-brain barrier and disrupt the production of neurotransmitters. And so it's also a chemical stressor that leaves your brain more vulnerable to oxidative damage. So not good for the brain. And then we have alcohol. Now, when consumed in moderation, alcohol can be an enjoyable thing, nice to go with a meal, but excessive consumption definitely affects the brain, has serious effects on the brain, actually. So chronic alcohol use results in a reduction of brain volume, metabolic changes, and disruption in the whole neurotransmitters going on in the brain. And so obviously neurotransmitters are chemicals that the brain is using to communicate. But moderate alcohol consumption actually has been shown to have benefits and slow brain aging. So also improved heart health, improved risk of diabetes. So again, this moderate consumption is sort of like 1 glass of red wine per day. So we're not talking about beer and all those sorts of things. There's no additional beneficial effects of the alcohol. So sad, but true. Now, some people suggest to avoid anything like wines and everything because they can have a high sugar load, and that is true if you're really trying to follow a ketogenic approach, etc. Really there's no way around that. Some people suggest maybe going for a straight vodka if you really want to get into it, but then it has no additional antioxidant or polyphenol benefits. So, but it will have less impact on inflammation, etc. in your body. But again, moderation is the key in terms of alcohol. So the next one is farmed fish and then wild caught fish that's high in mercury. Mercury is a contaminant and a neurological poison, so bad stuff for the brain. And it can be stored in animal tissues and, large fish for some time. So the long-lived predatory fish are particularly susceptible to accumulating these high levels of mercury and can carry amounts over 1 million times the concentration in the surrounding water because of that food chain. So the effect of mercury include disruption to your central nervous system, disruption of your neurotransmitters, stimulation of neurotoxins that can result in damage to the brain as well. So here's the thing that's a challenge. Fish is a significant source of beneficial omega-3 fatty acids, but also could be a source of mercury. So we have a bit of a dichotomy, a little bit of a catch-22 going on here. So we've got to look at the what to choose in that sense. So fish is also a quality protein, many nutrients, the omega-3, B vitamins, iron, zinc, magnesium. So it's important to include as part of a healthy diet, and it certainly is a savvy food to include. So here's the recommendations. Generally, for brain health and all-round health, really, it's recommended that adults eat 2 to 3 servings of fish per week. However, if we're dealing with swordfish, shark, tuna, the large fish that are higher up the food chain, then that should be no more than once per week. It's also suggested that pregnant women and children avoid those high mercury fish, things like shark, swordfish, tuna, orange roughy, king mackerel. These are all bigger fish higher up the food chain. So once a week. So it's still safe to have 2 or 3 servings of those low mercury fish. So sardines, wild-caught salmon, those sorts of things, wild-caught mackerel, any of the smaller fish like whiting, they're all sorts of things. But the fattier fish like salmon and mackerel and sardines are certainly even better for the brain because of the high omega-3 content. So they're the bad foods. What are the good foods that will help you to optimize your brain, supercharge your brain, focus, and mood? Well, the fatty fish, as I just finished talking about. So definitely on top of the list, salmon, trout, sardines, all rich omega-3 sources and really good for brain health. Coffee and tea, as we have discussed. The 2 of the benefits there, like antioxidants, L-theanine, all those sorts of things, really, really helpful for brain function on top of the caffeine. So definitely improved alertness, performance, memory, and focus can be obtained from both caffeine and green tea. So green tea extract is often used as part of dietary supplements, etc. And so you're also getting some of that brain boosting benefit as well. And of course, we talked about L-theanine from tea and from black tea and green tea, and also in and of itself as a supplement. But again, these green tea extracts, tea are rich in antioxidants that can help the brain as well, reduce the risk of Alzheimer's disease and Parkinson's. So, and green tea has been found to actually improve memory. Now we have blueberries, number 3 in this foods that we want to eat for the brain, blueberries and other berries. They provide a number of different benefits to your body, antioxidant value, but particularly powerful for the brain. And it's these rich purple-colored anthocyanidins that are the compounds that are really protective. And some of these antioxidants in things such as blueberries have been found to accumulate in the brain and trigger improved communication between brain cells. So not bad. And that leads us to what I talked about before, curcumin, which can be found in turmeric or turmeric. So including more curries and turmeric in your diet is a wise move. And it's certainly got a lot of buzz lately. But again, it's not very well absorbed unless it's mixed in with fats, etc. So having a turmeric latte with MCT and butter, for example, we have a recipe for that. A really, really powerful way to take that, as it is with taking your Bacopa. And so it's also a potent anti-inflammatory compound that's really been linked to brain benefits. So including it in your diet is a wise move. And so then we have things such as broccoli. Okay, and broccoli is particularly powerful for its antioxidant value and its vitamin K value. It delivers more than 100% of the general RDI for vitamin K, and that helps. Vitamin K is essential for forming the sphingolipids. And this is a type of fat that's densely packed in your brain cells. So there you go. You can be saying, I'm looking after... Your broccoli doesn't just look after your liver and your ability to detoxify things, but it's good for your sphingolipids. Uh, so when you're next at a dinner or whatever and you're eating your broccoli and people say, you say, I'm looking after my sphingolipids, and see what sort of a response that gets. So beyond vitamin K, broccoli contains a number of different compounds that are anti-inflammatory and have an antioxidant value, so protect against brain damage. So good news, to go with your coffee and that touch of red wine, you can add in some dark chocolate, because dark chocolate and the cacao, the rich cocoa solids, have brain-boosting compounds including flavonoids and antioxidants. And they actually gather in areas of the brain that deal with learning and memory, according to research. So researchers say that the compounds that are found in cocoa solids may enhance memory and help slow down age-related memory decline. And it's a legitimate mood booster as well. That's according to research, not just the anecdotal evidence. So that's dark chocolate. Leads us to nuts. Now, nuts can be very good to improve all sorts of markers of health, heart health, but also brain health as well. They definitely can improve cognition and improve prevent really neurodegenerative disorders. And researchers believe it's probably the antioxidants, the polyphenols, the vitamin E, etc., that can be responsible for these benefits. But also, it turns out walnuts in particular, some people say, just look at it, they look like little brains. And a 2015 study from UCLA linked higher walnut consumption to definite improved cognitive test scores in participants. Now we have eggs. Eggs are a great source of nutrients that are tied to better brain health, including B6, B12, folate, and choline. Now, choline is an important micronutrient that the body uses to create acetylcholine, which is a neurotransmitter implicated in mood and memory. And 2 studies found that higher intakes of choline were linked with better memory and mental function. So, nevertheless, even with all of this evidence, it's shown that most people don't get enough choline in their diet. And, eggs being one of the richest sources, some people are intolerant to eggs, but a lot of the times we don't eat the eggs. People don't eat eggs because of the fear of cholesterol. That sort of thing. So that's really, a lot of evidence has debunked that. So eggs certainly are beneficial for their source of choline that's good for the brain. They also have B vitamins. That's great for brain health. In particular, folate and B12 have been linked. Low folate and B12 have been linked to having more depression. B12 is also involved in synthesizing brain chemicals and regulating the sugar levels in your brain as well. So eggs are a great source of choline, B vitamins, and all these other beneficial compounds. And last but definitely not least, that's lots of green leafy vegetables, the kale, spinach, collards, broccoli, as I mentioned before, all rich in not only vitamin K, but lutein, folate, beta-carotene, and all of these have been shown to reduce cognitive decline. So something as simple as eating more leafy veggies could slow down your cognitive decline and help your brain to last longer and perform better over a period of time. So, your parents told you to eat your greens, and it turns out they were on the right side of science. Another thing I wanted to share with you before we wrap things up is to give yourself a bit of a brainwash. What do we mean by giving yourself a brainwash? Well, a bit of a quick tip here. Avoid eating 3 hours before bed. Practice stretching your fasts as well overnight to get to about 12 hours. So obviously when you sleep, you're not eating, and so that's fasting. See if you can stretch it out. Because what this does, not eating 3 hours before bed and trying to stretch out your fast overnight, actually activates and optimizes a self-cleaning mechanism in your brain known as the glymphatic system. And so that's a bit of a tip there to look after your brain and see what you can do there. I won't go into the details on that, but it's certainly important. So here in the Savvy team, really, you might get a bit of a picture of all of the things that we're talking about here, certainly form part of our general programs, but we're on a bit of a mission that we like to call the Save Your Brain movement. and really educating communities about what can be done to look after their brain now, spark up the brain, but also prevent and even reverse cognitive decline. So, like Dr. Dale Bredesen's saying, there's a lot you can do about Alzheimer's. The reality is that Alzheimer's should be a rare disease, yet it is 70% of dementia is Alzheimer's, and dementia as a whole is the leading cause of death in women. And that is really why we put together the Healthy Brain Action Plan to really do something in the now to look after your brain, but in the long term to prevent cognitive decline. So that's a wellness program that we have that you might be interested in. But whether it be foggy thinking, whether it be just general memory problems and all those sorts of things, just understand that these are signs and symptoms showing up that our body is under load. So your body will start by whispering, then it'll start talking. And if you don't pay attention, it'll start yelling and shouting, and then you've got an illness. Love that from Dr. Molly Roberts. So we'd love to know, how can we help you? What are the things that you're looking to achieve in terms of helping you reach that higher level of health and wellness? So please do share with us. Great to have you on board here for this episode of Healthy Savvy Life. So be sure to keep these particular tips in mind when you're thinking about the healthy action steps that you're going to make in this coming week to really help you to move towards that next level of health and wellness. If you did find the information valuable, do please share this with someone that you think would benefit. And if you have questions, please do share them with us. We also have heaps of extra information on our Healthy, Wealthy, Wise blog. So you can find that at savvy, SAVVY, savvy-team.com/HWW. So look, if you came across this particular information and you're not already following us, then please do. Here in the Savvy Team, we believe that wellness can be as easy as 1, 2, 3. If you just do a few simple things over a consistent period of time, you can reach that level of wellness that you've been looking for. So thanks for joining us. We really do appreciate you being part of the show. And so until next time, it's Corey Sievers here, encouraging you to be savvy.